On the evening of October 22, 2013, police received a 911 call from a woman named Diana Chism. Her voice was filled with worry. She told the dispatcher that her 14-year-old son, Philip Chism, hadn't come home. He wasn't answering his phone, and no one had seen him since school ended. For a quiet town like Danvers, Massachusetts, a missing teenager was unusual. Diana explained that they had recently moved to Danvers from Tennessee and that Philip had never exhibited such behavior before. The police took the report seriously. Recognizing the urgency, the police swiftly took action. The Danvers Police Department promptly shared Philip's photograph and details, including his height and weight, across their social media platforms to spread awareness. They also issued a reverse 911 call to local residents, providing them with Philip's description and urging anyone with information to come forward. The Danvers police were searching for Philip Chism when another report came in, this time about Colleen Ritzer. Colleen was a 24-year-old math teacher at Danvers High School. She was known for being kind, passionate about teaching, and always willing to help her students.
It was nice, just everyone comforting everyone and all my friends being there for one another.
But that night she hadn't come home. Her family tried calling her, but there was no response. It was unusual for her to be out this late without telling anyone. Officer Neil Hovey of the Danvers Police Department took to searching Old Route 1 North for the missing teenager. At 12:28 a.m., as he navigated the dimly lit, isolated area, he spotted a lone figure walking along a bridge leading to a dark highway. Pulling over, Officer Hovey approached and saw a young man clad in shorts, a zip-up sweatshirt, black socks and shoes, despite the cold and wet weather. Upon questioning, Philip stated he had nowhere to call home and had been living on the streets for days. However, Officer Hovey found this odd, as Philip did not appear disheveled or unkempt like someone who had been exposed to the elements for an extended period. Growing suspicious, the officer decided to frisk Philip and discovered plastic cards in his pocket. When asked to empty them, Philip complied, revealing a driver's license, an insurance card, and a credit card, all belonging to Colleen Ritzer. When asked how he came into possession of these items, Philip claimed he had found the credit card at a grocery store. However, when pressed for further details, he hesitated and said he did not remember which store. Upon arriving at the station, Officer Hovey searched Philip's backpack, uncovering several unsettling items, including a woman's bag, female undergarments, and most disturbingly, a box cutter stained with a reddish-brown substance. Realizing it was blood, the officer's concerns escalated. When questioned about the origin of the blood, Philip simply stated, "The girls." Officer Hovey briefly stepped out to contact the Danvers Police Department, leaving another officer in the room with Philip. The officer asked Philip where the girl was, to which he chillingly responded, "She is buried in the woods." Concerned, the officer inquired if she could still be helped, but Philip's unsettling response, "No," left them deeply alarmed. Noting brown and red stains on Philip's sweatshirt sleeves and a ski mask around his neck, authorities confiscated his clothing and shoes for further investigation. While Philip was being questioned, Officer Steve Belair headed to Danvers High School to search for Colleen Ritzer. Upon arrival, he gathered information and awaited security footage from the school, hoping it would provide crucial leads regarding her whereabouts. As he collaborated with fellow officers, they began uncovering key pieces of evidence. Colleen's bag was discovered in a recycling bin, while her shoes and clothing were found along a running trail near the student parking lot. Additional personal belongings were located in a bush close to the path, painting a grim picture of the situation. When the police searched the recycling bin, they noticed what appeared to be blood. Meanwhile, another officer inspecting the school discovered similar stains in the second-floor women's bathroom near Colleen Ritzer's classroom, further intensifying suspicions. Officer Steve Belair, who had familiarized himself with Philip Chism's description from social media reports about his disappearance, reviewed the school's security footage. At 2:30 p.m., the video showed Philip trailing Colleen Ritzer as she exited her classroom and proceeded down the hallway. As Officer Belair continued watching, he observed Colleen entering the second-floor women's bathroom, unaware that Philip was following her. Minutes later, Philip emerged, now dressed differently and wearing a mask, as if attempting to conceal his identity. At 3:16 p.m., Philip was seen leaving the school and heading towards the visitor parking lot. Shortly after, he returned to the second-floor women's bathroom with a recycling bin, pausing briefly before exiting again. this time pulling the bin outside the school and out of the camera's view. What made this footage even more alarming was that Colleen Ritzer was never seen leaving the bathroom. Once the Danvers Police Department confirmed Philip Chism's whereabouts, they took him into custody and brought him in for questioning regarding Colleen Ritzer's disappearance. Simultaneously, the Massachusetts State Police arrived at Danvers High School to initiate a crime scene investigation, beginning with a thorough search of the area where the blood-stained recycling bin had been located. Philip's mother, Diana Chism, was also brought in for questioning. During her interview, she expressed concerns about her son's mental health, revealing that Philip had been struggling emotionally due to the stress of his parents' recent separation. She also mentioned a family history of mental health issues. At approximately 2 a.m., Philip Chism and his mother were escorted into an interrogation room at the Danvers police station. Before the official questioning began, they were given a private moment to speak. Meanwhile, Trooper Basher and Sergeant Philip Tenney, who were preparing to interrogate Philip, received crucial updates from officers monitoring the CCTV footage. The footage showed Philip following Colleen into the women's bathroom, where she was last seen alive. Later, while Philip was being questioned, the Massachusetts State Police Air Wing and the Danvers Fire Department deployed infrared technology to search for any signs of Colleen's whereabouts. Specialized tracking dogs and their handlers also scoured the area around the high school. Eventually, Philip confessed to the crime, detailing how he had struck Colleen with a karate chop before using a box cutter to inflict fatal injuries. He even pinpointed the location on a map where he had left her body in the wooded area behind the school. Around 3 a.m., a forensic expert made a grim discovery: a toe with pink nail polish protruding from a small pile of leaves. Emergency responders were immediately summoned, and upon further excavation, they uncovered Colleen Ritzer's lifeless body. Despite their efforts, it was clear that she had succumbed to her injuries. Her remains were carefully transported to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy. Forensic pathologist Dr. Anna McDonald conducted the examination and identified male DNA on Colleen's body. When analyzed, the DNA was a match for Philip Chism. Dr. McDonald also found signs of asphyxiation, including small hemorrhages around Colleen's eyes and mouth. Further investigation revealed blood on Philip's box cutter that matched Colleen's DNA, solidifying the evidence against him. Examining the body, Dr. McDonald documented multiple deep wounds on Colleen's neck, indicating repeated slashes to the same area. The autopsy confirmed at least 16 wounds, some of which were fatal, while others would have caused immense suffering. One of the wounds was so severe that it had chipped her vertebrae. Based on these findings, Dr. McDonald concluded that Colleen's cause of death was sharp force injuries combined with asphyxiation due to strangulation. The extensive injuries made it clear that this was not an accident but a calculated act of violence. As news of Colleen's tragic death spread throughout Danvers, the community was left in shock, especially upon learning that Philip Chism was the prime suspect. It seemed unimaginable that someone so young could commit such a horrific crime. In connection with Colleen Ritzer's murder, Philip Chism was charged with aggravated sexual assault and murder. He pleaded not guilty, a decision that sparked controversy and raised debates about how young offenders should be prosecuted. Some believed Philip's age should not exempt him from being tried as an adult, while others argued that the gravity of the crime warranted such charges. Colleen Ritzer's students were devastated by her tragic death. They remembered her as a compassionate and dedicated teacher who always went the extra mile to help her students succeed. The Danvers community united in mourning, holding vigils, lighting candles, and observing a moment of silence in her honor. Even before the first game of the World Series for the Boston Red Sox, a tribute was made to commemorate her memory. But what could have driven Philip Chism to attack and kill his beloved teacher? The New York Post reported rumors suggesting that Philip had a deep infatuation with Colleen and reacted violently when she rejected him. A police source told the Daily Mail that Philip may have mistaken Colleen's kindness for something more, leading to an unsettling obsession. On a local website, a classmate described Philip as antisocial and distant in the days leading up to the attack, while some students recalled concerns about his behavior, noting that he often appeared withdrawn and uninterested. While awaiting trial, a judge ruled Philip's confession inadmissible due to improper questioning without an attorney present. His defense team argued that he had been detained for over 3 hours after his arrest at 12:30 a.m., handcuffed for most of that time, denied food, and prevented from making a phone call. The judge's 48-page ruling stated that despite Philip waiving his rights, there was reasonable doubt about whether he fully understood them, especially given that his mother had requested legal representation. Despite this setback, key evidence remained admissible, including Philip's possession of Colleen's personal belongings and a blood-stained box cutter. In December 2015, Philip Chism was found guilty of Colleen Ritzer's murder. Assistant District Attorney Kate McDougall emphasized that Philip acted with intent, planning his attack deliberately. However, his defense attorney, Denise Reagan, argued that Philip suffered from severe mental illness at the time of the crime, rendering him unable to control his actions. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Anthony Jackson testified that Philip's condition improved significantly after receiving antipsychotic medication. He stated that Philip had experienced hallucinations and delusions, which had impaired his judgment. Another expert, Dr. Richard Dudley, specializing in forensic evaluations, testified for the prosecution, claiming Philip had exhibited signs of schizophrenia since childhood, which had worsened before the attack. He revealed that Philip believed he was hearing voices and even imagined the presence of a ninja instructing him on what to do. Schizophrenia is a severe mental illness affecting approximately 1% of the population, often causing hallucinations, delusions, and difficulty distinguishing reality from fiction. Dr. Dudley noted that Philip had later expressed remorse for his actions, stating he would not have committed the crime if he had not been influenced by the voices. However, the prosecution challenged this claim, arguing that Philip was exaggerating his symptoms. They presented strong evidence, including surveillance footage showing Philip following Colleen into the bathroom and graphic crime scene photos that revealed the extent of Colleen's injuries. To provide the jury with a clearer understanding of the crime, they were taken to Danvers High School to visit the scene. This firsthand experience allowed them to grasp the horrifying reality of what had occurred that day. In a final effort to sway the jury, Philip's maternal grandfather, Eduardo Barbie, testified about the family's history of mental illness, revealing that Philip's grandmother had undergone electroshock therapy in the 1970s and that several family members had received psychiatric treatment. Additionally, a classmate recounted how Philip's behavior had changed drastically in the days leading up to the murder, transforming from lively and outgoing to eerily quiet and distant, raising concerns among his peers. Despite his defense team's efforts, the jury found Philip Chism guilty of Colleen Ritzer's murder and sentenced him to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 40 years. During sentencing, the judge described Colleen's death as brutal and senseless, emphasizing the pain she endured. However, Philip's legal troubles did not end there. In 2014, at the age of 25, he pleaded guilty to attempted murder, assault, battery with a dangerous weapon, and kidnapping. These charges stemmed from a 2014 attack on a Massachusetts Department of Youth Services worker, eerily similar to Colleen's murder. The worker testified that Philip followed her into a bathroom, pinned her against a wall, and tried to choke her with a pencil. This shocking attack further reinforced the perception that Philip was a dangerous individual who showed no regard for human life. As a result, he received an additional 17 to 20 years in prison, on top of his existing life sentence. The victim of the attack gave a harrowing statement in court, describing how she lived in constant fear and how Philip's attack had forever altered her sense of security. Philip Chism is now appealing his conviction to the highest court in Massachusetts. His lawyer, Michael Schneider, argues that Philip's conviction was flawed due to insufficient evidence and the exclusion of critical brain scan expert testimony that could have supported his insanity defense. Schneider claims that brain scans would have shown that Philip was mentally ill at the time of the crime and that the jury was not fully informed about his mental state. News of Philip's appeal has deeply upset Colleen's family and friends, who are determined to ensure that he remains behind bars. They strongly believe that Philip's actions were calculated and evil, and they reject any attempt to reduce his sentence. One of their biggest grievances is that Philip has never expressed genuine remorse, further solidifying their belief that he should never be granted parole. The murder of Colleen Ritzer sent shockwaves throughout the education community, making teachers across the country feel more vulnerable. The idea that a student could turn violent against an educator led to heightened security measures in schools. Many institutions increased access controls, installed more surveillance systems, and implemented stricter safety protocols, including active shooter drills and emergency response training. Colleen's tragic death also heightened awareness about warning signs of violent behavior among students. Teachers became more cautious in their interactions with students, while schools emphasized early intervention strategies to prevent future tragedies. Despite these efforts, the loss of Colleen Ritzer remains an enduring pain for her family, friends, and the Danvers community. Thank you for joining me in exploring this chilling true crime story. If you found this video interesting and meaningful then, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Crime Shade for more deep dives into real-life true crime stories. Have any thoughts or theories about today's case? Share them in the comments below. I love hearing from you.